Okay, we might get started. People might join us along the way, but I'm conscious of the time and everyone has places to be. So good morning, everyone. My name is Sheila McCormick Cooney. I am the Senior Communications Officer at Green Schools, and I'm with my colleague Rishibha Anand, who is also a Communications Officer with Green Schools. So we're going to be talking to you this morning about how to start a communications campaign in your school. So those of you who attended yesterday would have learned a bit about about setting up your Green Schools Committee. So with your Green Schools Committee, once you start to plan some actions, you'll want to start a communications campaign. So we're going to give you some pointers on that. Okay, so let's get started. Everyone can hear me okay and see my screen okay. If you have any questions, just pop it into the chat. We'll just have a quick look here. Hey, St. Finian's. So when you start your communications campaign, you want to look at the big picture. So you want to ask yourself some questions before you even begin anything. So these questions would be who, what, where, when, why, and how. Okay, this is just to get you started. So start with the what. What is your message that you're trying to get across? Okay, so something like save water. Yes, the slideshow will be emailed. So save water is obviously a great message, but is it specific enough? So instead of save water, we might try ways to save water in school. So you want to keep it simple and you want to keep it relatable and you want to keep it specific. So don't confuse people because people, if it's just save water, it might be like, well, how, what do we do and where, in what way? So be specific and give it and make it very clear and simple. Okay. Have a call to action. So what do you want people to do specifically? So just give you some examples here. These are examples of climate pledges from our recent Climate Action Week. So these are all quite specific and relatable and achievable. Okay, so talk about climate change, connect with nature, plant native trees, fly less, try meatless Monday, reduce and refill, grow it yourself, choose to reuse. Okay, so they're very clear messages. Okay, so let's move on to the who, because this is as important. So who are you talking to? Who is your audience? So your audience could be your teachers. It could be your classmates. It could be your parents. It could be your local community. So you need to define this audience before you begin your campaign, because then you know who you're talking to. You grade your language, you grade your message. Okay, so define that audience. Your audience shapes your strategy. So if you have more than one audience, you need to adjust your delivery of your message. When you're thinking about your audience, put yourself in their shoes. Try and think like them. What do they relate to? So if your message, just to go back to fly less, so that might change the way you deliver it based on whether you're talking to your parents or whether you're talking to your peers, because your peers wouldn't fly as often, say, as your parents might. Okay, so you need to just adapt your message slightly based on your audience. Okay, where are you going to reach your audience? There are lots of different ways. First up is social media. As students, as secondary school students, I'd say most of you are on social media, and love it or hate it, it is a very valuable tool for us. Okay, it's free for the most part. You can boost posts using just a little bit of money, but generally speaking, it's free. It is flexible. It's far-reaching. It's versatile. So it's a really valuable tool, especially for your age group, to send out a message. Notice boards, I'm sure you all have them in your schools. Also, I mean, it's getting back to old school. It's just putting up a flyer or a big leaflet or whatever on your notice boards. Kids will see them as they're walking past. Your teachers will see them. Parents might see them at drop off. They're useful. Your school website, talk to someone who is in charge of the website. Maybe it's the school secretary, maybe you have a communications person, maybe it's a teacher. Ask them if you have a promotion for something that you're a campaign you're running, you might want to promote it on the school website. Most schools now have a school app, so like that, see if you can post something there that your peers or your parents or staff will see through the website. Local news. So if you're trying to reach the wider community around your school, um, local news is a good way to do that. So if you're promoting a campaign in your school and you want the people around the school to know about it, contact your local newspaper. Most counties have several local newspapers, so they're always looking for local interest. So if you contact the paper ahead of your event, they might come down, take photos, and post a little story about it. So don't be afraid to reach out. Okay, so your platform is based on your audience. So for each message for each audience, create a list of pros and cons. Is this particular platform effective for this audience? Does it cost money? How many people will see it? So think about all these things with your committee when you're planning a campaign. Okay, so your message, you start with your message, you think about who you're sending your message to, and you think about how you're going to send it to them, where. Okay. Okay, moving on to the how. So how are you going to frame your message? Are you going to be funny to get people's attention? So this is an example of a funny ad for braces during COVID. Okay, best time ever to get braces. It's funny. It makes people smile, smile at the world. Are you going to be clever? So this one, it's sugar free. So you know the imagery is strong. You can see what they're trying to say. Are you going to be serious or shocking? This ad was one child is holding something that's been banned in America to protect them. Guess which one? Okay, and it's not the gun. So a lot of people would be shocked or really taken aback by this imagery of a child holding an assault weapon. But sometimes, you know, when you have a serious message, you need to have a serious image to go with it that will get people's attention. So it's just something to think about when you're framing your own message. So that leads us into design, because design is very important. Um, so this is an example of an iconic design. So this is a poster from the 1940s. So it has stood the test of time. All these years later, we see it reimagined again and again. Just a few things. I mean, maybe we could say in the chat here, what makes this a strong design? By looking at this, what makes it stand out or what makes it impactful? I don't know if we can get the chat going on this. I just put a couple of ideas here in the chat. I see people typing, but I don't see. I will give you 1 second and then I will say it myself. Okay, well, we'll start first of all with colors. Okay, so it's primary colors. We see blue, yellow, red. Okay, colors are important. We'll get onto that shortly. Okay, these colors really stand out. They're very simple. The imagery is strong. The text is clear. It's white on a dark background. So this, I mean, it's very easy to see how this has been effective for so many years. Okay, her fist is closed. Yeah, like it's strong. I mean, the background is simple, so it makes the image pop out. Exactly. Okay, all of these things are effective with your design. Okay, here's another. Oh, sorry. Here is, why do I keep doing this? Okay, here's another effective campaign. Okay, this fella in Australia started this campaign to say it was to help welcome refugees. So he posted these posters all over the country to get this campaign rolling. So what is it that you think is impactful about this design? See people typing. It's simple. Yeah, it's very simple. What about the imagery, for example? So the last one, we had lots of color. Word count is low, fewer words make bigger impact. Yeah, it's bold, simple, all caps, exactly. So whereas with the last one, we had bright colors, strong imagery. This one, it's only text, okay? There's no image and the colors are very simple, but it's super effective, okay? This campaign went viral. What about this one? So we have imagery, the message, colors. What would we say about this one? Any movement here, so I'm gonna give it to you. It's visual. It's funny. Yeah, it's very visual. Okay, you clearly get what they are the point they are trying to make. Okay, the only words are entrance, exit, and the logo. Okay, the colors are basic, but the imagery is strong. There's no need for text. Okay. Okay, so when you're designing your imagery for your campaign, it's important to create a visual flow. So in Western cultures, our eyes tend to look from left to right. Okay, so use that flow if you're using text. Okay, also for your imagery. So just keep that in mind when you're designing. Okay, so good design is simple. Okay, so back to the idea of your message as well. We're talking about simplicity because we want to keep people's attention. We don't want to confuse people. We don't want to make it complicated for them to understand. So keep your design simple, make it clear. When you're done, take a step back and say, like, okay, if I saw this, would I stop and look at it? Okay, if I were passing a notice board, would it make me stop? If I were flicking through Instagram, would it make me stop? So think about those things when you're designing, okay? Videos are super effective and they're really useful nowadays, so keep them short. We all have very short attention spans. You know the way that you look through TikTok or through Instagram videos, it's just flip, 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 flip. So unless something is clever or really well designed, you're not going to look at it. So keep them short, okay? Okay, so let's talk about bad design. So not everyone's a graphic designer and you don't have to be, okay? There are lots of tools to help you, but there are some things to look out for when you're designing. Okay, so first up is placement of your text. Make sure you place it in the right spot. Okay, so if you have a message, so if we're looking at this one on the left here, what's wrong with that? Like if you have a message and you want it to stand out, what would be wrong with that? Can I even read that word? I don't see much coming up. So placement, the text is too light and it's on a light background. Yeah, it's not clear. Exactly. So if you have light text, put it on a dark background. If you have dark text, on a light background. Okay. It's basic enough. Okay. Exactly. Yeah. The color is the same as the background. And then with fonts, there's so many fonts today and they're all so fun and we can pick a font that matches our design but just keep it to a minimum. Don't go nuts with them. If you have too many, it confuses people and it just makes them look away. So keep it to a headline font and a text font and maybe some accent font, but never more than 3 because otherwise, yeah, it's messy. Very good. Okay, another one's colors. Colors are really important. Okay, so if you put some colors together, they're jarring for the eye. So just, make sure your colors balance each other and they don't, this one almost looks like it's electric. Okay, so you have the blue and the light blue on the red. It hurts my eyes to look at that. Okay, and the message gets lost. Match your mood to your imagery. So that font there on the right, it's like a Halloween font, or a spooky font, and then you have this lovely floral background. So it doesn't match. It's like, what? So just try and suss it out and keep it simple. I keep going back to that idea. And if all else fails, use a template, okay? Canva is free. You can get a free account. Adobe has its own version of Canva. It's called Adobe Express. There are loads of templates that you can access all for free and loads of tutorials linked to them. So don't reinvent the wheel. Just go with what's there and just adapt it for your own message, okay? Okay, so when you meet with your committee, it's important to kind of just sketch out your ideas before you start putting the digital designs together. So talk about your colors, your fonts, your imagery, the amount of information you're going to include. This is what you do together before your design people go off and do the image, okay? So the amount of information in the image will be different depending on your platform. So if you're going on social media, you're going to have minimum amount of text. Whereas if you're creating a flyer, you're probably going to have more, because if someone's passing a notice board, they're going to stop and read all of that information there. Okay. And then if you're making a video, map it out. You can create like a little comic as to storyboard your video so that, you're not kind of retaking all the bits. So storyboard, start with your opening, your intro, then next, talk about things like lighting. If you're going to use music, you can write the script. Okay. So all of these things can be done in your committee meetings when you're working on your campaign. Okay. When, think about the when. So choose your moment to post if you're posting on social. So post something, look at the analytics, check, okay, so 1 p.m. is at the most shares, 3 p.m. most clicks, least productive. So look at these things. It's trial and error a little bit, but do choose your moments, because if you post at the wrong time, information can get lost. Okay. So think again about your audience. So when do you personally look at your social media? So that's when you want to post for your peers. Then think, when do I see my parents looking at their phones or their tablets? So post for them at that time. So just kind of, you need to do a little bit of research on this to find the right time, but you will find it, and just make sure you post it at the right time so that it gets seen. Okay, finally, why? You need to give people a reason, okay? So for their future, for their children's future, for their business, for their community, okay? People are busy, so they don't engage with content unless it's important to them or they can see the connection. So make sure you give a reason and they can see that connection. Okay, so just in summary, so you frame your message and then you ask all these who, what, where, when, why, how questions to plan your campaign. Okay, we have a little worksheet for you at the end that we'll attach with this presentation when we send it on. Now, Rishibha is going to talk about the next part about making your goals SMART. Thank you.
So, thanks, Sheila. Hello, everybody. My name is Rishibha, and I work on the Green Schools Communications team with Sheila. And so Sheila talked about the big picture of designing your communications campaign. And now that you might have some idea about the who, what, where, when, why, and how of your campaign, I'm going to be talking to you about how you can plan and set goals for your campaign. So let's dive in. Now, so one of the most important parts of planning your Green Schools campaign, or any campaign for that matter, is setting goals. There's a very famous quote by Bill Copeland where he says, "The trouble with not having a goal is that you can spend your life running up and down the field and never really score." So no matter how big or small your campaign is, setting goals is very, very important. Having goals for your campaign means thinking about what you want to achieve through that campaign and writing it down. So, setting campaign goals is very important because it will help you clarify your campaign ideas. It will help you focus your efforts, use your time and the resources that you have productively, and it will also increase your chances of achieving what you want to with the campaign that you've designed. So, always set goals for the campaign that you've designed. So, now you'd wonder what makes a good goal. I'd say if you try and keep your goals smart, you're most likely in the right direction to achieving your campaign objectives. Now, what does it mean to have smart goals? Let's look. So, a SMART goal is specific, it's measurable, it's achievable, it's relevant, and it is time based. Now, we'll discuss each of these elements in a little more detail now. Okay, so what does it mean to have a specific goal? This means thinking about what will you achieve through your campaign. So what will you exactly do with the campaign that you've designed, or what is the outcome of the campaign? This makes the goal specific. What does it mean to have a measurable goal? So if you have any numbers that can help you track the progress of your campaign goal, it makes it measurable. So any data or any quantity that you can use to decide whether you've met your campaign goal or not makes it measurable. Next is achievable. Your goal needs to be realistic in order for you to achieve it. Now, you can break your goals down into smaller bite-sized chunks and that might be helpful for you to achieve them effectively. Next up is relevant. So the relevant element of a goal means that your goal should align with those of your team or on your Green Schools committee, for example. So basically, how does the result of your campaign matter to you and to others? So your campaign should always have a purpose, a cause to make it relevant. And finally, the most important element of a SMART goal is that it has to be time based. Your goal should always have a set time frame and a set deadline. A goal without a deadline does not do much. Also, having a deadline is very helpful in identifying whether your campaign was a success or not. So having a goal that's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based makes it really smart. Now, we'll look at some examples of communication campaigns and goals that you might set for the campaign, and we'll look at if these goals are smart or not. So, the overall goal that you might set for your communications campaign is everyone within 40 kilometers of the school will know who we are and will tell all their friends about it. So, do you think this goal is smart? So, let's start with the specific element of it. Do you think the goal is specific? Well, I'd say the 40-kilometer is, but everyone is a bit broad. So it really is not specific. Now, is the goal measurable? So, as I talked about having numbers or quantities or any sort of data that you can use to track the progress of the goal, and we see there's no numbers or any sort of data that you can use to measure the progress. So I'd say it is not measurable. Now, is the goal achievable? So the goal isn't specific, it isn't measurable. So the goal isn't achievable either. Next, is the goal relevant? The goal does not talk about the campaign. You look at the example and you see there's nothing that talks about the purpose or the cause of the campaign that they've designed. So uh, there's nothing relevant about the goal here. So it is not relevant. And finally, is the goal time based? There's no time frame. There's no deadline that we see here. So it's definitely not time based. So this one is not an example of a SMART goal. Now, next up, I have another example of a communications goal for a campaign. The goal is we want at least 500 groups in the country to find out about the big beach cleanup and register on our website by Feb 2024. Again, let's look if the goal is smart or not. Is the goal specific? The goal talks about targeting 500 groups in the country. That makes it specific. So the goal is specific. Now, is the goal measurable? So there's a registration link on the website that you can use to measure the progress of the goal. So there's definitely some tracking that you can do to see how many people have registered for the campaign. So it makes it measurable. Now, is the goal achievable? The goal is specific, it's measurable, it definitely is achievable. Now, is the goal relevant? So, is there a purpose or a cause that you see here? The goal talks about protecting the ocean environment. It talks about cleaning the environment, the ocean. So, it has a purpose there. It has a big cause there. So, that makes the goal relevant. And finally, let's look if the goal is time-based or not. So, there's a clear deadline there. That's Feb 2024, making the goal very, very time-based. So this goal is overall very smart. It is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based. Perfect. Now, This is the last example that I have for you today, and it's actually a real life example for a campaign that we worked on this year for Green Schools Travel. The campaign is called Walk to School Week, and I think a lot of you might be familiar with it and may have also participated in it. So, the goal that we set up for it was we want all schools in travel and global citizenship travel teams in the country to promote walking as a positive mode for school journeys for Walk to School Week from October 2nd to the 6th 2023. And we also want them to submit their walking numbers using the online form on the website. Again, let's look if the goal is smart or not. Do you think the goal is specific? Can anybody in the chat tell me if you think the goal that we've set here is specific? Do you see who the goal is targeted to? Yes, I see a yes there. Yes, the goal is specific. So we talk about targeting all schools on travel and global citizenship travel theme. So this makes the campaign goal specific. Yes, that's the right answer. Now, is the goal measurable? Again, can I ask the audience if you think the goal is measurable? We talked about numbers or having any data that, yes, yes, yeah. So we can track the progress of our campaign or the goal that we've set for it by the walking numbers that the schools will send through the online form on the website. This makes the goal measurable. Now, do you think the goal is achievable, guys? Again, in the chat, please. Yes, yes. So I'd say the goal is achievable based on the past year results. Also, because it's very specific, it is measurable, it makes it achievable. Also, we've run this campaign for so many years, and based on the results from past years, it is achievable. Fine. So next is relevant. Do you think the goal is relevant? Do you see a purpose, a message, a cause there? I see loads of yes in the chat. Yes. So the goal talks about promoting walking. So walking is a sustainable mode of travel. It's green travel. So it has a cause there, a good purpose there. So it is relevant. And finally, the last one for SMART, is it time-based? Do you see a time frame, a deadline? Yes. Yes, so the campaign ran from October 2nd to the 6th this year. So we had set a time frame and a deadline for it. So it is smart. So that's an example of a smart goal that we had for green schools this year. Now, finally, before I end my presentation today, I have a really interesting and fun video that I'm going to be playing here now. The video shows how hooking one person along in your plan, in your movement, in your campaign, and involving them is the first step to getting others to follow along too. So I hope you enjoy the video and I hope it plays. Is that okay?
No, let me see if I can play it from my end. Can you hear it? Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just going to be stopping the video there. But you see how movement always starts small. And if it stands out to the crowd, it gains momentum and it grows, and other people will follow along too. So don't be scared to start your own little movement, your campaign, and because all big things always have small beginnings. So good luck with your campaign there. And the video is called How to Start a Movement by Derek Sivers on YouTube if you want to watch the whole thing. And I highly recommend it. It's really good. Now, before we end this session today, we wanted to let you know that we've created a resource for you to design your own campaign in school and set goals for it, which you'll receive with the recording of this webinar today. We hope you enjoy designing your own campaign. And if you have any ideas, any questions, we'd be happy to help you. So thank you for listening and joining today. And I hope you enjoyed the session. And if you have any questions, you can pop them in the chat now.
And
Thank
I'll
you.
just stop the recording here as well, just if anyone has any questions.
Yeah.
Well, I
Thank
think
you.
I can stop